everybody. Happy Friday. Tennessee Shand, so generous today. Thank you so much. Not only for that very generous super chat, but also for gifting those memberships. It's so nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining me on this Friday, early Friday afternoon. I'm going to be out this afternoon, so that's why we're having a little bit of an earlier stream. Also, D23 Brazil starts today. There will be a trailer coming out later today, which I'll have to cover tomorrow morning. Thank you, Drago, NYC. And then also there'll be another trailer tomorrow around the evening, late afternoon, and I'll be covering that tomorrow. I'll be a little late on both, but I'll be covering basically both of them tomorrow. Atomsphere, Superman is not Disney. This is D23 Brazil. It is not Brazil Comic-Con. Brazil Comic-Con is the first weekend of December, right after Thanksgiving, and that's probably where we're going to get that Superman trailer. We'll see. Oh, not modern art history. That is so generous of you as well. All right, but we still have found out we have some fantastic news stories to discuss. So very exciting. Oh, wow. Everybody's being so wonderful. Thank you, we see. Thank you so much. You know, it's been slow this year because of the strikes and everything and, you know, Hollywood pivoting. So really, everybody's support is just so generous and appreciated. Kay Walton, you know, you said, why wasn't the Simon Kinberg news dropped, you know, for D23? Thank you, Lawson. It was not officially announced by Disney. Perhaps they'll make it an official announcement tomorrow when I believe Star Wars and Marvel present tomorrow. Wow, we see. That's really generous of you. Thank you so much. And to share that generosity with others so that so many other people get a membership is just really wonderful. Thank you, Atomsphere. All right, so let's get started with these stories. Please try to keep your questions and comments to the story at hand. And then, of course, as always, at the end of the stream, we'll do a 10-minute Ask Me Anything. All right, so story number 1. Here we come. Hold on. Boop. Oh, look at that. So this came out yesterday. Hi, Lizzie. This came out yesterday, this news. Let me go get my arrow. My arrow is too far at top for me to do this correctly. This came out yesterday. I was working on some videos. Oh, yeah, by the way, Arcane review for Season 2 will go up at 3 a.m. this morning Eastern Standard Time when that show goes live. That's when the review embargo for the show lifts. All right, so Simon Kinberg. What the what? So yesterday it was announced, well, it wasn't announced, but it was reported by the trades that Star Wars, Disney and Lucasfilm had no comment. Again, maybe they'll comment on it this weekend. That Simon Kinberg, that's right, of Dark Phoenix fame, had been hired to do another trilogy for Star Wars. Now, the question became, even the reporters at the trades themselves couldn't figure it out, and they couldn't agree as to whether or not it was a new trilogy, starting off with a new story, or if it would be episodes 10 through 12. Again, continuing the Skywalker saga. We'll see what it ends up being. We'll see if it even gets made. Because that's something that people brought up immediately. And they were like, but what about all these other movies that were announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023? We're supposed to have a Rey movie. We're supposed to have a Dave Filoni movie. We're supposed to have a James Mangold Early Days of the Jedi movie. And there's Kathleen Kennedy. It's just, the only movie that has moved forward is the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. In fact, I believe it's done filming. So that's definitely coming out. There might be a sneak peek or some more information about it tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be released to the public. But yeah, I think it's a legit question to be like, where are these other movies that were announced? Why do you keep announcing movies and yet not making them? And I saw that Tenerife brought up the fact that Rogue Squadron was announced, big deal with Patty Jenkins, and it fell away. And even though Patty Jenkins maybe can't make it anymore, why is nobody else making a Rogue Squadron movie? It's based on a very popular video game, and the aerial sequences have been some of the most well-received and favorites of fans throughout all of the films. I mean, Rogue One's aerial battle towards the end is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I love that. It's my favorite part of the movie. Then, of course, the question is, like, what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy, man? Like Kathleen Kennedy, her contract keeps getting extended inch by inch. Newest thing is that maybe she's going to leave next year. But then why is she able to greenlight a movie like this? It's like, you would think that whoever would be taking over potentially would want to shape the future of Star Wars. Instead, they're going to inherit, 6 movies? A new trilogy and these other 3 from these other individuals. So it's surprising that, they would greenlight an entire new trilogy under leadership that is potentially on the way out. Again, that hasn't been confirmed. But the fact that Star Wars got into so much trouble, has had probably the worst year it's ever had with The Acolyte this year, and that none of these new movies have been able to get off the ground, it would seem weird that Kathleen Kennedy would continue to steer this ship. So we'll see. Now, let's talk about Simon Kinberg. Who is this guy? Now, Simon Kinberg rose to fame. He came into Hollywood because he came up with the idea for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That was his script, and, he really lucked out. It was a very good high-concept idea. For those of you who don't know the term, high concept is something that's very easy to sell. It sounds great on paper. It's a great elevator pitch. It's easy to advertise. And if you want to be a very strong blockbuster filmmaker, you have to be good at high concept storytelling. And I will say that Simon Kinberg is good at high concept, and clearly he's good at selling himself in a room. Now, he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and then he partnered with Bryan Singer to be a major part of the Fox X-Men movies. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. Obviously one of the times they worked the worst was when Simon Kinberg had total creative control, which I think is what makes a lot of us nervous. But, that really helped him out a lot with his career, the earlier Fox X-Men movies. And he got in there to such a degree that he would get producing credit on movies that he even wasn't creatively responsible for. Logan, the Deadpool movies. He's even an executive producer because of the Fox connection on the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Then also, he was an advisor on The Force Awakens, the one Star Wars movie that, everyone says it worked. I had significant problems with The Force Awakens when it came out because I said, you're just ripping off A New Hope. And we later found out that Bob Iger, that's exactly what they wanted to do. And it did do extremely well. It's one of the most successful movies of all time. But it laid a very faulty foundation for the movies to come. And they never even continued with what that story was. Rian Johnson came in and I believe not only went in his own direction, but didn't really get a directive of where he even was supposed to go. Adam Sphere says, is J.J. Abrams' career... No, he's so prolific and such a powerful name, and he's had so much success, he'll never totally go away. But I would say that he's in a bit of a rut. Also, his daughter is Gracie Abrams, who's quite successful. So, that's keeping him a little bit in play as well. All right, then he's also worked on Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot movies. And you're like, what? As if you didn't need more reasons to be nervous. The Hercule Poirot movies are also very good high-concept films. They look good on paper. They look kind of good as a trailer. And then when you go and see them, you go, oh, what was I thinking? And they keep getting us every single time. And then also, he got signed on to do the upcoming Star Trek movie, although where the heck is that as well? These are all deals. I don't know if they're pay or play deals. But Simon Kinberg, for somebody who delivered one of the worst X-Men movies of all time that finally killed the franchise, it's amazing that he continues to get so much work. All right, so that's the thing that made everybody very nervous as soon as this was announced. Everybody was like, wait, Tenerife, I thought A Haunting in Venice was okay as well, but not for the caliber of talent involved. If Haunting in Venice was somebody's first film, you'd be like, oh, nice work. I'm curious to see what you do next. But you're like, Kenneth Branagh, Simon Kinberg, what are you guys doing here? So Dark Phoenix was awful. Really a horrible, horrible film. The Fox X-Men movies had gotten away with a lot, but Dark Phoenix was just finally a step too far. And Simon Kinberg, this was when he had full creative control. So that's what makes it so scary. It's not like, I've told you before, you never want full creative control because then there's nobody else to blame. But yet, and I guess this really is a good point, while Patty Jenkins can't get any more work for a film that's equally as uneven, and in fact, I feel in spots better, Wonder Woman 1984, Simon Kinberg works again, perhaps because he has a deeper Rolodex and deeper connections in the industry. However, I must say, I looked up, like many of you, and because somebody earlier here said he sure lucked out being a producer on Star Wars Rebels. And I was like, man, let me see exactly what he contributed to Star Wars Rebels, because that's an incredible show. So I went and looked it up, and he's not only a producer on Star Wars Rebels, but he's a co-creator on the show, and he also actually co-wrote some of them, but outright wrote several of the episodes. So I was like, wait a minute. Star Wars Rebels was really, really good. So maybe he has some Star Wars ability. So that made me feel a little bit better. And in fact, I was like, well, why would you hire the individual who worked on Star Wars Rebels to do a new trilogy? You know, he worked so closely on Star Wars Rebels. Could he perhaps be doing something with Star Wars Rebels? I mean, don't forget that Ahsoka brought in live-action versions of the Star Wars Rebels characters. And I think for the most part, they transitioned quite well. Not enough was done with them, but I think all of us who are Rebels fans, and thank you for inviting me to the party, I love that show, we're pretty impressed with how it turned out, and I think we're very eager to see what could potentially happen next. Ahsoka did pretty good. Adam Sphere, if you want to know which episode Simon Kinberg wrote, he wrote a lot of them. Go on the Wikipedia page and you can see the credits for the episodes, and you'll see his name is all over Star Wars Rebels. And not just in an oversight manner. He was down in the dirt creating that show. So Ahsoka did very well as a streaming show. I mean, obviously, because it was kind of built off of the prequels. Anakin was there. But Mika, I don't know if Star Wars Rebels has the lowest viewership. I mean, all of the Dave Filoni animated shows have not done well in terms of viewership. But the fan base is vocal. So it made me feel like, I mean, I don't know what Dave Filoni's going to do. Everybody thought Dave Filoni was maybe going to do this with his movie. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, what is Dave Filoni? I mean, he's making Ahsoka season 2, I guess. So I really also I have to tell you, one of the things that I like most about Star Wars Rebels is that I thought they did such an incredible job with the Jedi. Star Wars Rebels had wonderful Jedi characters, including Mr. Ezra Bridger. I love this guy. What was his mentor, Kanan or whatever? He got killed off, but he was wonderful as well. But they had some of the best lightsaber action sequences that I've ever seen, if not the best lightsaber action sequences I've ever seen in Star Wars Rebels. So I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. So I would love to maybe see that applied to a live action movie. Kanan, thank you. I was a little voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr., by the way. I was a little disappointed that they didn't bring that lightsaber, that sweet, sweet lightsaber action to Ahsoka. I guess, it's harder to do, to bring it over into live action than it is in animation. But, let me just say, my love for Star Wars Rebels is so strong that it can overcome my deep dislike for Dark Phoenix. So I'm like, well, maybe he can do it. If I could maybe get some of the other people who worked on Rebels to work with him again, and I can bring these characters back, namely this one. If I could make a Star Wars movie that was a new trilogy that focused on Ezra Bridger, I feel I could make a lot of money. Especially with where the world is right now. I think this character would do extremely well. So that really kind of changed how I felt about it. Just one look at the credits for Star Wars Rebels, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not that dumb an idea. So what do you guys think? Ben 10 says, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to tell a totally new story which appeals to the general audience, even if it's a new audience. I don't know. I think if they go back to the basics about what works with Star Wars, sweet, sweet lightsaber action and, the Jedi being good guys. And, there's Thrawn getting his, German bad guy on. Abed says, is there enough material for 3 more original movies? I think so. I mean that's a crazy question. Is there enough material for any kind of movies? Either you have that deep creative well or you don't. I mean, I was amazed at how long they were able to to spread out the Bad Batch. You're like, you guys have more story. Oh, by the way, who would love to see Omega? Omega has been aged up to be adult age. Actually, I feel the age of the actress who does the voice work. So let's dye her hair blonde or put a wig on her and stick her in these live action shows as part of, she's a contemporary of these characters now, Omega from the Bad Batch. And I'm like, man, you gotta put these characters in here. Doc Hayes, that's true. We're in the question and answer section of this story, by the way, just to make it clear. Last Stand and Dark Phoenix were truly awful. I'm scared too, but I do see a glimmer of hope in Star Wars Rebels. David Q says, I think they should make a movie about Grey Jedi. It's something that we have not seen on the big screen. I don't know. I'm nervous about it. Because I think that the idea of Jedi that weren't necessarily 100% good worked so poorly in The Acolyte. Fabian says, I hope they'll plan the whole trilogy instead of just doing episode 10. And then, yes, I mean, you would obviously have to really do the work. I mean, it's amazing to me they didn't do the work with The Force Awakens. You're supposed to have a series or at least a trilogy Bible, and you're supposed to have planned out all the films. I mean, obviously you can pivot a little bit if you see the audience has a very strong reaction to something you hadn't anticipated, but you really have to do the legwork. It's just like they should treat telling a trilogy just like they do a series for streaming and treat the 3 movies like 3 episodes. I mean, that's really the way it's supposed to be done. I think maybe they get nervous these days because of leaks, and nobody has a leakier ship than Disney. It's just full of holes over there. And unfortunately, it's an unfortunate phenomenon. This has always been interesting to me. For other IP, people are like, don't you dare ruin it. Like Game of Thrones had tons of leaks as well. And people were like, I don't want to hear it. La, 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 la. But then whenever there's a Disney leak, people are like, tell me now. And you're like, it's going to ruin the movie for you or the show. And they're like, I don't care. And I think, it's, I don't know if it's partially the hate towards Disney these days and people just want to see it all burn. But Disney finds itself in, I think, in a uniquely difficult position. Let's see here. Mika, I don't know if Skeleton Crew will be a flop. I gotta tell you, there seems to be almost no interest in it. But the trailer to me, I didn't get to react to it, but I thought the trailer looked pretty good. The last trailer. I was like, it looks pretty good. It looks like what they said it would be. Stranger Things for Star Wars. So at the very least, I think, maybe it'll be like, I don't think it's going to trend quite like Agatha did because it seems very much for young children. But it could exist in a Percy Jackson type space where you're like, oh, people watch it. They just don't really talk about it that much, But at least, hopefully, it won't be mired in hate. Hey, Chris Olson. Robert Senior says they should just start from scrap for the new Star Wars universe, for this new trilogy. That's right, Kay Walton. Percy Jackson would trend. I don't know if I'd start from scratch. Don't take my Ezra Bridger from me. I mean, I'll be there for it. But I just think Star Wars is such a rich space. I mean, there's got to be. I just don't know if that works that well today. I mean, I think the name of the game is Easter eggs and, references and building on stuff. I think it would be hard for audiences to engage with something that had absolutely no backstory. I think that would be difficult with the way fandom works these days. And Ben 10, that's interesting you say that about keeping Rey in some capacity. How sad would it be that poor Rey, where the heck is her movie? And yet there would be a new trilogy and she potentially wouldn't be a part of it. There ain't nobody ever been treated worse. Well, no, that's not true. Rose Tico has joined the chat. Yeah. A lot of the new Star Wars characters were just really not, Finn. They were all treated very, very poorly. Blair Wraith says, I'll never forgive that they robbed us from having Luke, Leia, and Han together before Fisher's death. Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely ridiculous, that they would not, as soon as they could have included all of them, they did not. Riley Steele, I am a Ventress fan. I came to really love Dave Filoni's animated work. All right, I think we're ready for the next story. All righty, hold on. Let me get my arrow in position. Story number 2. Boop. Now this one surprises me. All right, so Channing Tatum Gambit. What the heck? That's right, boopity boop boop. All right, so what the heck? What are we talking about? All right, so as you can see here is like in 2015, right before Fox imploded. This was like the last panel they had at Comic-Con, and Channing Tatum was getting ready to make his Gambit movie, and there he was with Ryan Reynolds, like almost 10 years ago. But there they are at the latest Comic-Con, for this summer when they had Deadpool and Wolverine coming out. Channing Tatum still has on the same Gambit shirt, and he just never really kind of gave up, Very interesting. Ryan Reynolds talked a little bit about, who he was able to get for Deadpool and Wolverine and who he wasn't. But as I said in my coverage, something that was really interesting to me was that Ryan Reynolds almost exclusively got people that he's worked with in the past. And he really couldn't really get, I think, partially for, I think, it's like who basically was willing to do him a favor. And people he didn't directly know, the deals were harder and in many cases impossible to work out. But he, of course, has a very strong relationship with Channing Tatum. And boy, he's doing a lot to help his buddy Channing. So the reason we're talking about this is a quote that came out yesterday where Ryan Reynolds said that the executives over at Marvel, he said, are obsessed, his word, not mine, obsessed with Channing Tatum's Gambit. And so I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is a sell, but it's a very good sell, and Ryan Reynolds is an excellent salesman. Now, I really enjoyed Channing Tatum in Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought he was very funny. The bit about him being unintelligible was hilarious. And, to this day, I'll never forget when I saw it with my parents, when he says, "Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself here." My mother laughing so hard, it brought me such joy. I mean, she just thought it was hilarious. And she's not even a comic book fan. So he did have that, that crossover aspect. Robbie swears that Ryan Reynolds was being sarcastic. You never know. I think Ryan Reynolds is very intentional. He might be making a joke, but if he is, he's making a joke with a wink, with potentially, actually pulling something off. So here are some of the questions that comes out of this. Now, obviously, everybody goes, what? Is it like, would you give him a solo movie? I think that Channing Tatum's Gambit, would he be more serious in his own movie? But then who wants to see that? The whole reason everybody liked the character in Deadpool and Wolverine is that it was so over the top. So, but I don't think that obviously would support an entire film. However, there's also Secret Wars. And, Ryan Reynolds in the same interview even said he doesn't know if he's going to be in Secret Wars, but maybe he will be. Okay? He's not sure. He can't comment on it. And that's all he was willing to say on it. That's all he needs to say. It's on the table. But maybe he can show up with Gambit. I can see. But, you don't want to overdo the joke. Wanda's Attorney, it's funny you said special presentation. I said maybe Disney Plus series, which is actually, to me, where I think it makes the most sense. But even just Wanda's Attorney said just a special presentation, just a Gambit special, I think would be very, very funny. That is the only thing that I would potentially sign on for. And let's do a poll. I know you love a poll. How would you like to see Channing Tatum's Gambit return? So one is solo movie. Another is with Deadpool. And then another is Disney Plus series or special presentation. And then no thank you. All right, so of course, anyone watching can vote in a poll. You do not have to be a member to vote in a poll. Oh, that's an interesting idea. That's easy for you to say, says, what about putting him in a what if episode? I don't know, I want to see him. I mean, that would be funny. But I think part of the gag is seeing him in that very ill-form-fitting suit. It was funny. He looked stupid and cool at the same time. I mean, I geeked out as an X-Men fan. When he shuffled those cards in Deadpool and Wolverine, I geeked out hardcore. Hey, Ashton. I mean, I just really loved it. I was like really, really amazed. Although Ashton says, what about a reboot? I think this would, of course, obviously slow down a reboot. You know, it's like how long is it going to take for us to get new X-Men characters if we're still talking about the Fox versions of the characters? War and Peace wants a real Gambit, not a joke Gambit, and LP agrees. Hey, Tame the Three Bears, welcome back. Amy also liked the card effects. I mean, that was amazing. When he shuffled that deck, I mean, that's something I'll never forget for myself. I just was like, it was so beautiful. I couldn't stand it. I've watched that several times on Twitter and YouTube as well. That scene specifically just for that. He's like, and I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Brandon says a character like Gambit does not contribute to the overall story of the MCU. He had his moment. It was great. It would be fine with a cameo in the Avengers movie, but no solo movies or Disney Plus shows. Really? I don't know, like a Gambit Valentine's Day special or something, or like Spring Break, like Gambit Spring Break. I mean, it just writes itself, in my opinion. Although, you know, does it distract us from the goal of getting new X-Men? Maybe, but snicker. Kevin Feige's so backed up, you know, why not have something, why not treat ourselves? Cesar says, I always pictured Gambit more lean and French. Yeah, Channing Tatum looked a little, let's say, just big in the Gambit costume. I would agree with that. Hey, Simple Ari. But, you know, Channing Tatum is apparently from the Louisiana region. He's Cajun, as Leroy just pointed out. He's not actually French. Oh, that's funny, Wanda's attorney. Keke Palmer could do her rogue, since it's not, you know, the main universe, although she'd be a great rogue potentially anywhere, but that would be a great nod as well. Oh, who wouldn't love that? And they would work so well together. That's a really good idea. That's an excellent idea. I'm telling you, man, that would be great. I mean, that's a Disney Plus special right there. I really like that. Channing Tatum and Keke Palmer for a 1-hour special. Oh, I'd laugh it up. I'd love it. Let's see here. Oh, Jay Garcia's in now. All right, let me close the poll. Let's see here. 39% of you do not want to see him come back. Oh, nice try, Ryan. He tried. Ryan's like, I tried, man. 27% of you are okay with the Disney Plus idea. 21% of you think he should come back with Deadpool, and only 11% want a solo movie. I guess on the glass half full, that's 61% of you. Is that 61? Yeah, 61% of. The math ain't mathin'. I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah, it is 61%. 61% of you are, you know, in favor of him returning in some form. Hey, Edward. So I just think I don't know. I think it's a fun idea. I think it's interesting. We'll see how much juice Ryan Reynolds truly has, if he could maybe do that. All right. How did I get my hair so poofy, Justin? Well, I zhuzh it before the stream. But also I found a new stylist who is, I'm very grateful for. Anyone have any questions about this story? Oliver says Channing is hot, but he did not look good in the headdress. It did fit weird, but I think that was kind of the joke. Oh, Caliban, Mardi Gras special. Duh, it's got to be Mardi Gras. That's funny. I mean, I would watch the hell out of it. That's right, Tenerife. This is all multiverse stuff. The rumor is the multiverse is potentially on its way out, but it's really moving very slowly towards the door. Let's see here. Rashad, it is unfortunate that he and Zoe Kravitz split up, but we don't want people to stay together if they don't want to. That's right, Amy. Deadpool could have a cameo. How could he not? Aubrey says the multiverse is the friend that doesn't want to leave the party. I mean, I thought Ryan Reynolds had the MCU multiverse's number pretty good. You know, with that speech that he does at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, and the fact that's in an MCU movie and yet they're still continuing with it is pretty crazy. Oh, Lawson, Dr. Voodoo. I've been angling for Dr. Voodoo or Brother Voodoo to come back. I mean, well, to enter the MCU. That would be a great space to do it in. Edward says Deadpool Christmas special where he tells story about if Gambit and others made it better. Oh, that's good too. I'll take that. I'll take another Gambit. Oh, didn't he say he filmed something? Oh, that's right. Ryan Reynolds had a tease of Deadpool for Christmas, and everybody was wondering if he filmed something special that would maybe be a surprise. I'm sure Channing Tatum would run over and do something. We'll see what happens. But that would be very funny as well. Although they're getting very close to Christmas, and wouldn't that be a problem for What If? All right, let's move on to the next story of the day. I think we're ready. All right, story number 3. I like this one. All right, so, boom, baby. This was a crazy headline that came out late last night, and that's that Macaulay Culkin has signed on for Fallout Season 2. I love it. I love it so much. All right, so Macaulay Culkin, he doesn't work that much. He's around, but he doesn't really, have that much going on. But I'll tell you right now why I think that Macaulay Culkin is back. Mr. Kieran Culkin, his brother, who of course was Fuller in Home Alone, drinking the Pepsi, and how the tables have changed. Kieran Culkin, of course, has won an Emmy for Succession. And now there's a very strong word of mouth that he's going to be nominated for an Oscar for Jesse Eisenberg's A Real Pain. So, wow. So, in many ways, Macaulay Culkin becomes the more affordable Kieran Culkin, which is crazy. But, I definitely think that Kieran Culkin's success is now helping his brother Macaulay. In fact, they look a lot alike, and I do wonder if they can both coexist at the same time. I don't know how, I'm sure they're very supportive of each other, but, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's funny that you think that Kieran is a little unlikable, Liam. I think that Macaulay Culkin has that same edge. He didn't have it as a child actor, but as an adult, he's just as edgy as his brother, if not more. He's very zany. So, if anything, Kieran's a little bit more mainstream. But that's what makes Macaulay Culkin so perfect for Fallout Season 2. You thought Walton Goggins was nuts. I can't wait for Walton Goggins and Macaulay Culkin to have a scene together. They're going to be just so nuts. We're going to be like, what the heck's happening? It's just going to be like so phenomenal. I just can't believe what a great idea this is. All right, so he plays a crazy genius type. That's the rumor. But let's talk about the potential 2 people that he could be playing. One is Mr. House from Las Vegas. This was the actor who played him in the end of Fallout Season 1, but obviously, they could change that. Remember, never bet against the House. Mr. House runs one of the major corporations that is revealed to be behind things. Go watch Fallout. I won't give away too many spoilers. But, it's revealed at the end of Fallout that Season 2 is probably going to take place in Las Vegas, where this character, Robert House, Mr. House, the House, again, as I said, never bet against the House. Thank you, Warren Peace. He could potentially be playing that character. So that's one character that he might be playing. Now, here's another character that he might be playing. Edward Swallow, a.k.a. Caesar. Now, there's Caesar's Legion in Fallout, which is basically a bunch of dude bros who think about the Roman Empire so much that they create their own new Roman Empire, which lives by that, tries to live by that creed. And they're run by this guy who's even blonde, who names himself Caesar. And I have to say, you would think you might pick somebody who was kind of like an Andrew, well, you know who I'm talking about, like that kind of an individual, But I think, Macaulay Culkin is so not a military leader that he would want to play one, I think would be a very hilarious commentary. So I actually think that he's extremely well cast in that role. I think he would be very funny in that. In fact, I think it would be a better, I think to be honest with you, he would be good in either one of these roles. He might not be playing either one. He might, but I mean, it seems if you have a star as big as Macaulay Culkin, why wouldn't he be a major character? He'd have to be somebody who was a large part of the second season. You don't sign on Macaulay Culkin for a cameo. However, this to me is all working towards my end game, and that's a proper Home Alone 3. That's right. You can do whatever you want on Fallout, but what I want is for them to do another Home Alone in theaters, hopefully. They recently gave Catherine O'Hara a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Macaulay Culkin was right there. The paparazzi snapped this fabulous picture, and we recreated that iconic moment from the original film. And I think everybody feels, as long as we're living through the nostalgia craze of Hollywood, that like the multiverse saga seems to have no end, we might as well get some good out of it. And I think we all want to see another Home Alone where Kevin is an adult and has to take on some criminals in some way. And for the love of God, let him maintain his dignity. Let's have Disney stop stripping their major characters of dignity when they bring them back. Steve, you're like the only person on the face of the earth who liked Home Alone 3, although cue people being like they also liked Home Alone 3. How could you? How could you? It must only be for the feels of watching it as a child, because it's not good. And therefore I respect your nostalgia in childhood, so I will not say anything too bad about it. But it's not good. All right, so I would like to see a proper Home Alone 3 as Macaulay Culkin's star potentially rises, he needs a little bit of rehabilitation. If we can get him back, he's already done the commercial where he did a commercial, what was it, like for Google or Alexa for Home Alone, which I have to say I thought worked out very well. I feel like if this succeeds, Disney will be even more like, All right, so those are the three. So does anyone have anything about this that they want to bring up? Any questions or comments about this? Amelia, there is a Home Alone 3 with a different child. Leroy says he'd be a great Benny to replace Matthew Perry, who did the character and passed away. I hadn't thought of that, and I'm not a Fallout player, and I'd forgotten about that, actually. I think that's a great idea. I think he has kind of a Matthew Perry vibe. He even looks a little bit like Matthew Perry. So maybe Benny would be also an excellent idea. That's great. I like that as well. Good job, Leroy. Juan, you don't see hype for Fallout. It's freaking it was Emmy nominated, and it was a huge ratings hit. I'm telling you, Fallout is big. I mean, you might not see it, and that's the danger of a binge release over a weekly. But I believe it'll switch to weekly with season 2. A huge hit. It couldn't have got more views on Nielsen. I mean, it was just like, talk about an explosion. It was an explosion of viewership. And you guys should watch it. If you have not seen it, you should check it out. It's a phenomenal show. With an amazing cast. Dolly, you wouldn't see Home Alone 3? I'd see it. I'd be like, put it in my veins. Emilio says, in Latin America, Home Alone is named My Poor Little Angel. It won't work with an adult. Emilio, I respectfully disagree. Morphed Home Alone 3, Why Me is a hilarious title. I don't think they would do that, but it's very, very funny. I maybe would make that a line, but we all like the idea that he runs a security company. And I don't want Kevin McAllister's children dealing with a criminal, and he is the dad who's gone off. I want Kevin McAllister himself dealing with the criminals, none of this passing the baton garbage. Wanda's Attorney. The comparison to Beetlejuice is excellent, and that did extremely well. The family nostalgia play doesn't get enough respect. I think a lot of people only think about the franchise blockbuster nostalgia play, but I think, Wanda's Attorney, that's great. There's a studio executive in you, Wanda's Attorney. You go, Beetlejuice money. And you go, Let's see here. Another Wanda stan says it would be funny if he was an overprotective dad after getting left behind several times. That's funny. Julio, thank you for gifting those memberships. I have to say, though, I think he would not be an overprotective father because he turned out great. He was left alone by himself all the time. He'd be like, I never had any parental supervision, and I turned out fantastic. All right, let's go to the Q&A section of the stream. I think we're ready for that. All right, booyah! 10 minutes until 12:55, and then I must go. MM92 says, hi, Grace. I just want to thank you for your post-election stream on Wednesday. Your mix of honesty and humor helped me feel a bit better that day. My pleasure. My pleasure. I was really nervous to do it. Everybody's reaction to it from both sides of the political spectrum. I really was honored and humbled that so many people, again, from both sides enjoyed it. I was really just trying to be honest and speak from the heart, and also to address things head on. And so, the fact that we were all able to come together on that stream gives me a little bit of hope that maybe we can all come together, for reals, and as a, not just as a country, but I think we're all kind of in it these days as a nation. I mean, as a globe. I do feel the borders are, obviously there's a lot of talk about borders these days, but I agree with Parasite that, I feel like we're very much a global community thanks to technology these days. Rex, welcome to the club as the new first chat as a member. I love it. Pop Culture Galaxy says the MCU multiverse-based films have done well. Not Quantumania, the shows haven't done. I don't know. I don't think. Maybe. Anonymous Wannabe says, "Hey Grace, what if anything would make studios return to the original theatrical model? Nothing. They own the streaming services. So, and an audiences, the question is what would make audiences return? And I don't think anything would. I think, uninterrupted, cheaper viewing is almost impossible to surmount." Maisie, my Gladiator review will go up on Monday. Did not love it. All right, so let's see here. Mohammed says, Grace, what did you think of Zaslav's comments about Trump's re-election offering more chance for media company consolidation? That is kind of like the theme of the Trump administration, it would seem, lack of oversight. I think everybody agrees that media consolidation is not a good thing. It's going to result in serious loss of jobs, the rise of AI. That's probably true. Let's see here. Rob says, I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity to be a member here. That's wonderful, Rob. I like your photo there. That's a very nice photo. Let's see here. Juan Gabriel says, how do you feel about Wicked after the elections and the Agatha low viewership? Well, I think the only question is, I think it's going to open big because the fandom is so large, but how front-loaded would it potentially be? That's, I think, the one thing that is, the question. So, let's see what the reviews are like. Juku says, thoughts on Nicholas Alexander Chavez being cast, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm surprised that he got something before Cooper Koch, because I thought Cooper Koch did a better job. Although, maybe Cooper Koch is holding out for something a little bit more high profile. Marcus, I didn't see Red One yet. Let's see here. Brendan says, I remember bringing a non-X-Men fan with me to Dark Phoenix, and I had to apologize. Also, the 355 was truly an awful film as well. That's right. He was on that as well. I remember. That's funny. I'll never forget apologizing to the people that I brought to Thor 2. Really, I was like, I'm so sorry. And they were like, I can't believe that was our evening. Liam says, did you hear the rumor about Barry Keoghan's Joker getting a TV series, and is there any truth to it? Oh, that Joker, I hope they change. I have not heard anything about that. If there is a Joker show, I hope they change how he looks, because he's, but maybe that wouldn't happen until the end of the series. I don't know. I advocated for more villain shows, but I don't think Joker's it. I think Joker people are jokered out, and I think it's, with all due respect to Barry Keoghan, I don't know if he can possibly compete with, when Joaquin Phoenix's version was good and what Heath Ledger did. I'm not looking for more Joker. I'm looking to spotlight the other villains that we haven't really gotten good enough. I mean, maybe they feel people would watch a Joker one, but not one where he's not Joker. If he's just a struggling stand-up comedian for 7 episodes, good luck selling that. But it does sound like something that current Hollywood would do. Sarah, I saw your chat. I'm sorry, I did not watch Juror number 2 yet, or September 5th. Oh, Aubrey, that's so nice of you to say hi to all the new members. And it's always nice to see you, Aubrey. Ethan, I've seen the first 6 episodes of Arcane Season 2, and they're not sending out the final 3 in advance. So we're all going to watch them together when they drop in 2 weeks. Gabriel says, hey, Grace, I've been beyond happy to be part of the family. Are you going to do an early review of Wicked, or are you going to wait until... No, I will review Wicked when the embargo lifts. But the embargo lifts, much closer to release date than Gladiator does. Gladiator's reviews lift on Monday. Amy, will I review Heretic? I haven't seen it yet. I'm planning to maybe see it tomorrow. I'm not sure. If I do, it'll be a mini review. And then Oliver says, who would you cast as Hulkling? I'm not sure. I would obviously have to have a casting director do a search. Let's see here. I agree, Vitor. I would like a Poison Ivy show, to be honest with you. But Dory, I'm glad you like my shirt. Thank you. And then Maria says, do you think the new Gladiator will do better than Gladiator 1, which made, $460 million 24 years ago. So that's obviously, with inflation, considerably more. Nah, I don't think so. Lucas says, are you worried about Captain America Brave New World at the box office after the election? I heard it's very political. I think that the real concern is, I think, with movies, there are various hurdles, like, for instance, let me put it this way. The first Joker film was extremely political, but it was also extremely well done. And I think the political content does well, no matter what its outlook is, when it is well done. And I do feel that the Falcon and Winter Soldier show was very well done, but we'll see if the movie has that same quality level. Hey, Matthew. Thank you. It's so nice to say hi. Liam, I'm not going to do Dune Prophecy weekly reviews. That review embargo also lifts on Monday at the same exact time as Gladiator. So my review will go up later that day because I don't want to post 2 videos at the same time. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm hearing Heretic is incredible. I was talking to someone last night who said it was their favorite movie of the year. And I was like, my God, Hugh Grant, what have you done? Amy, a Catwoman show also would be phenomenal. There's so many other Batman villains that I would rather have than Joker at this point. That's right, Juan Gabriel. The Boys is extremely political and still manages to be... I think, it was very well watched the last season. I mean, apparently it upset some people, but I think they'll be back. It's too good a show not to come back. David, I'm so jealous that you're watching Paddington 3. You guys get it so much further in advance than we do. CN says, should I watch The Americans if I enjoyed The Diplomat? Well, they're very different shows. And The Americans has like a ton of seasons. So that's going to take a lot of time. But I have to tell you that it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I really loved The Americans. And Matthew Rhys, I would recommend anybody watch it. Riley, I'm not ignoring your comments. I just don't see them. Let's see what you said. Riley says, weekly. Oh, I just answered you, Riley. Oh, did you? Oh, maybe I answered somebody else asking it. I'm not allowed to talk about, did Dune Prophecy social media embargo lift? Let me see. Boo, 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 boo. Let me check. I'm not sure if it lifts. I know they showed the episodes in advance. I'm going to just play it safe, and we have to wait until Monday. But I have the first 4 episodes of Dune Prophecy. All I will say is I've only watched 1.5. Blair, I'm so glad you like Interview with the Vampire. Oh yeah, I saw season 2. It's incredible. Rob also liked The Americans. LP says, Grace, can you give some insight as to how animation takes so long to make? All these What If seasons have been made in the same time. They only made, well, writing takes a long time. I think that maybe What If is down to a well-oiled machine at this point. I'm not quite sure. I think animation studios are also a lot of times like double booked, and it's hard. I think there's a lack of talent at that level, and sometimes directors are getting, from what I've heard from some people I know, directors get hired away and then they have to go find new talent. So that's an issue. But I mean, it is ridiculous how long it's taking and I talk about that in my Arcane review. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, you're going to see it when you see my review, but I will tell you that you really need to read at least the Wikipedia recap for season 1 of Arcane. I didn't want to go back and rewatch 9 episodes, especially because, everybody just realized at the last minute that season 2 was coming out for Arcane. But it will be almost impossible to follow season 2 if you don't at least read the Wikipedia recaps. It's very hard to follow. Hey, Danny. You can always have a shout out. Oh, Alberto, I'm glad you watched it so many times. You're ready to go. No, Tenerife, there's no previously ons. At least there weren't for the screeners. Maybe when they release it to the public, they'll have previously on, but there was, at least what I saw, there was no recap. Oh, it's time's over. I'm afraid I must go. Lisa. Oh, it's so nice to see you. I always love you seeing your new picture and everything. I'm excited about this new chapter in your life. So anyway, I must go. And I will see you Arcane review will drop tonight at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. D23 coverage tomorrow. And then, of course, Movie Math on Sunday. Then there will be a Penguin spoiler review on Sunday evening. And then on Monday, it's so much content. Then I'm like so much editing. Then on Monday, there will be a Gladiator review. And then later that day, there will be a Dune Prophecy review. So lots and lots and lots of content. All right, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.